Yeah, we're live. If this work, hello everybody. If this works, fine. It might because I think I might still be uploading a giant YouTube video, which
Oh,
so folks, yeah, it says stream quality has been lowered.
it
Uh,
says you're live, manifesting with the Mergoddess. We're
it's- I am. We just
here.
might be doing the crawl instead of the butterfly.
Exactly.
Doesn't the
Shoot.
crawl shouldn't the crawl be slower than the butterfly?
You would
Like
think,
crawl versus
but
fly.
I know.
They're just trying to make you feel better, right? You're
Definitely.
like churning. Oh, you're flying. It's a fly.
Yeah.
Really, I feel like I'm doing the worm in water.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt today because my whole body is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "We're a butterfly." Just keep telling yourself that, right? I'm a butterfly. I'm a butterfly.
All right. Well, we both have possible manifestation stories, right? So you go first.
Yeah. Me go first. Well, where to begin? Well, we'll start where it all started at my race this weekend. I've written my blog post and I'll be sharing it on the Sick to Fit page today sometime. But basically, like I went into this race, just no expectations. I ended up cutting 6 seconds from 2 weeks ago, and I haven't rested. Like literally, I'm training harder and I'm dropping time, which is interesting. But the one thing that I'm doing is I'm giving my body a lot of love. I'm saying to my body, body, I know you're doing your best. And in every moment, it does its best the way that it can. So that was really cool. So I had some really great times. Coach was really happy. It was really exciting. Then I went to Sticky Fingers, which is like this bakery with Laura, because she came and was giving me massages at my race, which was really nice. You know, it's always good to have your massage therapist when you're sore at your race.
Hmm.
And so then, like, she was like, "Oh, let's just go to Sticky Fingers," you know. So we go to Sticky Fingers. She had ordered something. I don't carry money around, so I have no expectation. But one thing that I remember was like I saw this homeless man sitting there, and I was like, I can't wait to like be able to give him a key to a home. Like every time I see someone struggling, like I just think about like how amazing I would feel to give to someone when I can, right? So when
Hmm.
everyone is like, "Oh, Sarah the Olympian," like I'm gonna be finding homes for homeless people because I'm just like, it just like warms my heart just thinking of it. Like I didn't have to do it, but just like keeping that, thought. So we go into Sticky Fingers and then like we're just sitting there waiting for our food. And the person comes out and they're like, "Did anyone order a mac and cheese?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, if no one ordered it, I'll take it. So free mac and cheese to start. Then they were like, "Oh my gosh, you guys waited so long. We'll give you a pumpkin little whoopie pie, and then we'll give you free four like cupcakes. And it was again like I had no expectations, but like just by finding joy in the moment, being really excited, that happened. So then I got invited to be on NBC4 News to do like CrossFit. And by the way, I have really never done CrossFit. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to do CrossFit for the first time on the news. This will
Wait,
be fun.
how did NBC News find you?
Well, so my friend is a Redskins reporter, and she is doing this like breast cancer event this weekend. And so she was like, she had made all the connections. So she was like, "Hey, come on, just do this CrossFit thing. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to drive out of my way to come get you because I really want you to be here." And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm supposed to be on the news this time if someone's going out of their way to like, pick me up." So then, we do the CrossFit thing, and I had in my head that I wanted the news. Like I've always been like
Wait, so
the reason I
were there like
huh?
was there like TV cameras and like while you were doing
Yeah,
like
so yeah, it was basically on the we had to get up really really early. So it was like the 5:30 a.m. crew, so it was between like 5:55 and 7 a.m. was when we aired. And so there was a reporter and this camera lady.
It was live?
It was live, yeah. So it
Okay.
was like if you go NBC4, I haven't even seen the footage. I don't even know what I look like, but I was just like, okay, I'm here to give, my energy and
And so
look
was
like
this,
I know what I'm doing.
okay. And so was this about you or about CrossFit or about breast cancer awareness?
So it was about the breast cancer is like basically gaining donations when they do this event at this CrossFit location. So it had nothing to do with me, only to do with the breast cancer, the CrossFit, and advertising their event for the weekend.
Okay, so you're just getting a workout, having fun, saying yes to life,
Yeah,
doing the
saying
massage.
yes to life, doing whatever, right? And I'm
Okay.
just, and in my head, I was like, oh, what if like NBC like just happens to find out about my story, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I would love to, do it. And in my head, I'm like, the reason I would want to be on the news is to just help more people, right? Like it's all about inspiring others. It's not about me or anything, just to help. Like I just want to like be the light for people, So I literally had, like I said, no expectation, and I didn't say anything. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I just was there for the workout. Then the woman, the camera lady, has this mermaid bag, and I'm just like, and it just like drawed me to it. Like I was just like, mermaid, I'm like, I think I'm supposed to like talk to this lady, so we just start like talking about like, where did you get this mermaid bag? Like I would love to have this, mermaid bag. And she was like, oh, you can find out Walmart or whatever. And she starts telling me about like, well, maybe, you could, they have all these really cool things. You could be a mermaid for Halloween. And I was like, oh, I'm a mermaid all day long. Like, that's what I do. Like, I'm a mermaid. So, like that's our, I don't need to be it for Halloween. Like I'm already
Right.
a mermaid.
You'll
And
be
so then like,
you'll be a runner for Halloween.
yeah, exactly. I'll be a runner, not a mermaid, but I am a mermaid. So then, we just start talking, and I was just like, I'm a professional swimmer, and it just starts coming out that, I'm training for the 2020 and da da da. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I have 7 hip surgeries. 7 hip surgeries stops her in her tracks. She's like, we need to be following you for the Olympics. We host, we like tell about the Olympics. We're NBC, and I was just like, oh yeah. Well, and then she didn't have a card, but her coworker had a card. So like, oh yeah, email me today so I can like follow along, and we can just figure out, what's going on. Oh, and we have this event November 8th. We would love for you to come. We're going to talk more, da da da. So emailed them. They emailed me right away telling me to go to this next event. And like it just brought joy, and I have no expectation on like what it means or anything, but I'm just like, now I'm imagining like walking down the street with my book bag, and NBC4 is just following me, and like they're like, oh wow, look at this girl, she just walks everywhere to her workout, and like she's just smiling, talking to the squirrels or whatever, and like so usually, like, during manifestations, right, I would get so attached to the outcome of, like, oh, my gosh, like, now is this going to happen or da-da-da. And now I'm just like, oh, that was really cool. Like, look what I did. Like, I literally thought that something was going to happen at that event for me. And it did. And I didn't even know, like a mermaid bag. Like a mermaid bag drew me to this lady. Like I would have never had a conversation with her if I didn't see the mermaid bag, So again, for me, it's just like I'm learning that whatever it is that I'm thinking about, I don't have to be attached to it. It's going to happen. See how it happens. And it was so exciting to like, oh, here's a mermaid bag, and here's your little gift to unfold and see like what happens,
Yeah, so my response to that is actually different than what I thought I was going to talk about. Um, so what's coming up for me is like it's this really weird dance for people who don't think like you do. Like you're thinking about the future by not thinking about the future. Right? You're sort of imagining outcomes by not having outcomes. Right.
Yes.
And so what's coming to me is Josh and I have been talking about this a lot, and he kind of got in trouble a little bit with the body positivity community, right? Which
Oh.
is like, and I'm not going to go into the story. It's his story,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
body
Yeah.
positivity is essentially essentially the idea like love yourself no matter what, and nobody can fat shame you, and you're beautiful no matter what. And Josh's view was like that's absolutely true, and don't use body positivity as an excuse not to do anything, as an excuse to just oh, I love myself the way I am. And I'm trying to like I have like deep empathy for sort of both sides of that, right?
Hmm.
For people who have, especially women, who feel body shamed because their bodies aren't the media corporate media standard of beauty. Either they don't have that the height or the facial features or the skin tone, or they have a disability or something, and they have felt sort of marginalized, less than. And so when they come to a feeling of like self-acceptance and self-love, like, oh, this body that I've always hated because society told me to hate it, and now I love it, like that feels like a very precious thing to hold on to.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, and I mean that's just like that's been what's happening to me is that like by telling my body that it's doing the best that it is right now, I'm speaking to it and it's receiving. And so now that I feel love in all pieces of me, of course a mermaid bag is going to shine and tell me, like and all the like of course life is working out for me because I know because I'm telling myself that I'm enough right now, and that's like what you were saying about that too.
Yeah, and yet in this community, when you say, you like it, I can't imagine you telling yourself over and over again that you love your body while you were feeding it crap
No
and
way.
sitting on the
Yeah.
couch, right? So
No,
that's
no.
that's what Josh is saying. Like, okay, body positivity. If you think about your like what your body like, love your body for what you get it to be able to do, and love your body not in the abstract, but love it by feeding it, love it by moving it like the animal that it is.
Yes.
And and I can see why there's some conflict in those two viewpoints, but I think the solution to the conflict is this idea of time. Like if I say, okay, I want body positivity, um, because I'm trying to say this right. I think I'm still playing with it a little bit, but like if you say to someone like you should love your body so that it becomes skinny and beautiful, right? That
Mhm.
I can see how that can be disempowering, offensive, very negative. But if we're not saying like to accomplish, but say like love your body in this moment. What would loving your body in this moment look like? Would it look like sitting on the couch with a sleeve and a half of Oreos? Right?
Yeah.
To forget about like in order to achieve. Right? So that's
Yeah.
what I was getting through you. Like you're not doing this in order to achieve, and yet by letting go of that, the outcome, you actually get the outcome that you would have chosen had you chosen an outcome.
Yeah, exactly. Even like I play with this like with small things. Like even today I was like, "Oh man, like my workout was really hard and like I'd like to have a bus to just take me, right?" But then like I just surrendered and was like, oh, "I'll just walk." And literally a bus flew right by me. I ended up walking because I was like, "Well, what's going to get me to the next level, you know?" But the cool thing is it's just like you can play with the small things and then, play with the bigger things. So like, oh, here's another fun one about creating money out of thin air. Cause that was the other thing. I'm like, okay, if I can do this, then I should be able to create money out of thin air. So there's this chiropractor that Laura goes to and she let me see how he works and they do all these really great things. And I talked with the doctor and they're like, well, if you can come up with $60, we will give you like rehab, like physical therapy stuff, like all this mobility equipment to help me move even better than I am, right? Like, so it's going to like increase my hip mobility and all these things. So at the place, I'm like imagining, like, I have no idea how I'm going to create $60, but I really want to just imagine how it is, right? Literally the next day, a check from one of my sponsors for $62.73 came in the mail. I didn't even know that it was going to come in the mail. But, like, this is what I'm, like, playing with. I'm like, okay, the more that I find joy and really accept that it doesn't matter whatever it is, I'm going to create it. And so, you know, so now I get to experience this person before my race.
62.50. So you also had an
extra $2.73 left over for whatever I want, right? Maybe what can that get me? A banana? A couple bananas?
Right. So I will go back to kind of what I was thinking, because I had a very manifestory few days. So and a lot of it's around money. So, you know, money's tight right now. And there are ways in which I can relate in a healthy way to that fact, and there are ways in which I can have constricted freakouts. And I can go back and forth, and it's kind of a, you know, a good barometer. Like I want to, you know, instead of like taking, you know, your blood pressure or your temperature, I can just think, how do I feel about money today? And I can tell how sane I am, right? Because there's days I just, you know, like, okay, freak out. And so my daughter wants to find a place to live in Asheville with her boyfriend, but they haven't been able to find anything they can afford. And then they were on Craigslist, and they found this place that looked amazing for $900 a month. And they're talking to the person, faxing, texting things back and forth, forms, and I'm looking at it, and I we have to be careful of scammers, because he's going to send her the key if she does Venmo, and I'm looking at it, and I'm so excited by her excitement. Like, this is finally going to happen, that I look at the documents this guy sent, and I said, well, it looks legit to me. So in fact, if he's a scammer, he's good enough that he would be scamming at a higher level. Like, seems legit. And so she puts down the down payment. 5 hours later, she discovers it's a scam. She has been scammed out of almost all her money, $1,800.
Oh.
And I see it because we're walking. We were in Chapel Hill. My sister was visiting, and we're all walking. And all of a sudden, like I was like, it was in the dark at night, and all of a sudden, like I come upon her, and she's shaking, and like it was just like the sort of face where you're like relieved that someone's not dead when you find out. And I just, like, my heart sank, and I felt like, oh my God, like, this is totally my fault. Right? Like, I did this. And that was like Saturday night. And then, so all of Sunday, like, from then on, like, this drama, like, can we try to get it back? Can we call Venmo? No, it's a weekend. Can we call the bank? We can, but Venmo will still want the money. And then somebody else had a similar thing, and she's like, you're a scammer, to this other person, and they said, yeah, I know, and she had sent a document, like, I know where you live, and like, she's like, oh my God, they're gonna hurt us, like it was so awful. And I'm like, okay, so have I manifested this? And then, so yesterday morning, I go to the dentist and find out that I need like a $3,000 root canal. So, usually when you spend $3,000, you get something nice in return, like you get something like, okay, it's you get your house, you get a new roof or whatever, but no, I'm just going to have to, like, I'm going to pay $3,000 to sit in a chair for 5 hours under anesthesia while somebody pokes at the pulp of my top right, left molar. And I'm like, and this morning, my daughter calls me saying she got the money back. Like somehow her boyfriend talked to this guy and said, "Look, you're hurting real people. Keep what you need, but please send whatever you can back to us because we don't have, you know." And they said, and she said she got it back in her account. And
Wow.
like what's occurring to me is I don't have the slightest idea what's in my best interest. Like, was this scam the thing that needed to happen? Like, did it bring them, my daughter and her boyfriend closer together? Did it teach her a lesson so she avoided a $50,000 scam in a couple of years? Did I need a breakdown in order, like I have, so we can talk about like I want the bus to come and the bus comes, and I want $60 and the $60 comes, but sometimes we don't get right. Like we
Yeah.
we get a different Olympics, or we get a shitty race, and like there's almost more power in looking at what we're resisting, what we don't want. And again, I want to tie it because this is sick to fit. I want to tie it to like our health outcomes. Like sometimes we do all the right things and we get, oh, I gained 5 pounds, or oh, my blood pressure's up, or I'm not in remission anymore. And we feel like what we're doing is a failure. And like like this last few days just reminded me, like I have no idea what's in my best interest. And the question is, do I trust that somebody has my best? Like there's some universal force that says like,
Yeah.
dude, this is what you need now. And the more you fight it, the more shit we're going to give you until you understand that this is what you need. This is the lesson.
Yeah. And I mean, like, through my own contrast, just like you're saying, like you learn something valuable through the contrast. And I mean, as human beings, like the contrast is what makes us human. The contrast of like not being okay right now, not accepting if I'm overweight or whatever it is that I want to do, like that makes us like okay. And like the moment that we can like finally accept that like you're human, like it's cool, like whatever you want to do, you get to do it, but you're in your own way. So the more that we, like you were able to learn from this lesson, like I've been able to learn from my lessons, and there's going to be more things that come up, right? Like, I mean, literally I'm journaling every day. I am powerful. I am, whatever. Like I'm like really diligently, finding joy, even if it's in tears, right? On the one blog post that I did or whatever. Like I'm really like being okay, being uncomfortable, and knowing that by being uncomfortable and knowing that it's okay, something's gonna come out of it, and that's where it's like, that's what I'm learning. Cause I'm tying all this with like, I'm doing a lot of spiritual practice, I'm doing a lot of meditation where I don't like hear anything. Like I just listen to sounds, and all of a sudden, like just like myself, the real me, that's like this like amazing human being or this amazing thing that wants me to do amazing things. But like this Sarah that I chose to be in this body, is like, hey, I want to like do all this resistance and I want to create all these other things. And like, but it's cool, right? Because I'm learning something from that. But what if I take that away and I just understand that I'm more than this body, I'm more than this person, and I'm everything. And so what happens when you're everything? Like, okay, well then I should be able to create money out of thin air. I should be able to go to the Olympics and win a gold medal if I want to, and know that it is possible, and I don't have to worry about it now. Like it's already done because I said it, it's done.
So I was, I did, as part of my rehab. So Mia, did some shamanic work on me, which opened me up a lot. And then I went back to this meditation teacher, Adyashanti, whom I listened to about 8, 9 years ago. Listened to him all the time, and then kind of like forgot. Like I got busy, like I'm too busy for spirituality, right?
Yeah.
And what he said something. I was on my run walk today. He said like, do you want to have a really comfortable prison cell, or do you want to be free? And what that hit me was like, suppose I could like decide how my life was going to go, so that it wouldn't have been a scam, and I would have had perfect teeth, and everything, the bus would come, and the money would just flow. Like everything would just happen for me, and I'd be in a really comfortable prison cell because my happiness in my current state depends on things going well. It depends on things that I
Yeah.
can't control, as opposed to what I'm kind of like reminding myself to move back towards a sort of a no matter what attitude. Like if I can break free from the prison cell, then externalities like a scammer or a rotten tooth or whatever don't have to, they can't touch, like you say, like the enormity of the totality of who I am, and not just the little bit of toothpaste that got squeezed into the Howie tube.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, it's just like, and I go to like a meditation class where someone is, channeling spirit guides and all these things. So like, I'm like, in these meditations, like I'm experiencing something more than this little Sarah, and so, and I'm like understanding that, this Sarah, like she's got a big role that's happening, but I'm preparing myself for that role. So all these contrasts, all these things that I've been through, they're to give like some ground, right? To give like myself some contrast so I can choose what do I want? Just like the scam. Now you could be like, do I want to go to the scam or do I want to go here? Like you get like we get to choose which path we want through the contrast is what I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I want to focus on the things that aren't making me feel good, well, I'm going to create that. But if I can really just spend most of my time really thinking about the things that I do want versus the things that I'm not sure about, more things come into play. Like we had talked when we first talked about Abraham Hicks when I was doing your podcast, I listened to a lot of those, and like, it's really like I'm finding it's more and more important for me to spend time with myself, my true self, than listening to all these distractions and things out here, because I'm gaining a lot of clarity from it and understanding like how to manifest. How can I get what I want? Because I came here to get what I want, and so did you. So did we all, but we haven't learned this, or it hasn't been like a thing that's on the media, right? That's like, hey, here's 5 things to how to manifest, right? They don't say that. They want you to be distracted and not know how to do this. But more and more we're coming into our original brand,
Right on. All right, I think we covered a good bit today.
Yes, we did. So that was so then I want to ask you, like, so leaving with this, like, now what are you gonna focus on so that you gain some clarity from all this manifestation you've been doing?
Yeah. Well, one thing is I've noticed myself becoming addicted to being right, and so and I can still I hear the echoes in my head. So like when you started talking, you said the word CrossFit, and so in my mind I'm already going like, here's 33 things I don't like about CrossFit, right? then then you said, breast cancer awareness, and I'm like, oh, what a scam, all that, pink ribbon stuff, and like that's my knee jerk default is, you and being sort of politically involved in this very tense time politically, so another thing that happened is my sister came to visit. We were walking in downtown Pittsburgh, and there was this protest and counter protest about the statue, a Confederate statue in the courthouse that is slated for removal. And there were Confederate people like, this is our heritage, with Confederate flags. And then there were like, somebody like, heritage hides hate and Black Lives Matter, and like next to it. And I just got, as we were getting closer, I got this feeling like, I really want to beat up the Confederate protesters. Like, I want to just like fucking punch them. And it felt like that was the only honorable thing to do. Like, for all my friends who have been, who have been oppressed and abused by racism. Mm-hmm. Like, just to walk by them wasn't good enough, and then so that there were other, like, okay, I don't actually want to like punch someone and get, they probably have guns and like, okay, so that's but I ended the way I was like high-fiving the other protesters, and I did scream some stuff like, like really smart things like, this is the 21st century, and just feeling like I got to do something. And the truth is, what I did was far worse than nothing. Cause everybody, like, people are confused, right? And for me to come at them with anger and with judgment, and this is how, like, I keep reading like farther left and left websites and blogs, and like, so now nobody's ideologically pure enough for me. Like, they're all sellouts, and I'm like alone in my lonely little tower, being the only person who's right. And as a result, I accomplish nothing. And there's no dialogue, and there's no understanding, and there's no change, and there's no movement. And like, so when you asked, like, what am I focusing on? Josh and I had a long strategy talk yesterday about just doing things that really excite us. Like, forgetting about the corporate thing, forgetting about the money, forgetting about strategy, and like, let's just move towards what we love. And so I haven't like looked at the paper.
Yeah.
I've hardly been on Facebook. And like, having an understanding. So if I am everything, then I'm also those protesters.
Yeah,
I'm also
exactly.
right. I'm also every racist in the world, every sexist, every homophobe, every anti-disability person. I'm them too, and so where I get to change them is by becoming more positive and loving.
Mm-hmm. And being the change you wish to see in the world, and you will see it.
Yeah, and it feels, like a cop-out, right? Because, the Howie part of me is like, well, where life doesn't work that way, you've got to go fuck them up. And in reality, like, what, there have been good wars, I guess, or good responses to, like, violence has been used in a way that sometimes prevents worse violence. And like, I'm just basically a clown, right? Like, I just like to make people laugh and make them think and be funny. And like, when I'm not in my strength, I'm contributing to the detritus and the pollution in the world.
Exactly.
So that's the answer. That's where my focus is now, just on what is going to be the most fucking fun thing that we can do. What's the most creative thing I could work on?
That's going to bring you joy and whatever else, right? Because it's all about Howie and how Howie is going to feel good in the moment, But I do have a funny story. Not really funny, but kind of. So yesterday there was a police officer that was like shot literally like 2 miles from my home. Ended up, I found out today that he died. It was a random thing, right? And so like so then like I'm thinking like, like, how can we like stop these shootings, right? Because like everybody, when you hear them, it's all over the news and everyone's like, another shooting, and they like have this vibration of like another one, And so I went on the Facebook page of where it was and I said, how can we share more love? And that was like my like love that I was going to give out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then someone wrote like, you can show love by spreading your legs. And, basically like he basically was saying that by how I could share love, or how women could share love was basically to spread their legs and, do all these things. And normally like, I would have been like totally triggered, right? I would have been like, oh my gosh, this guy's this idiot, all this thing. But all I could think about was like, oh my gosh, like this guy doesn't even know that he's love. He thinks that love is contributed by somebody else doing something for someone else. And it just occurred to me that like, we don't know what love is. Like as humans, like we don't know, but we are love. Like the big thing that we are is love. And so, like, how you were saying about, when you would walk by and all those things, like, I totally get it because, there's a piece of us that was that, or, like, even somebody that was, like, for myself who was date raped and, all these different things, like, they're all the sexual trauma that I've had, right? But, like, I could look at that guy and have just so much love that he had no idea what I was even trying to do. And it was like, oh my gosh, that's how the world is right now. Like people are so confused, like you said, they're so angry. They have no idea what direction to go in. The politics are kind of all over. And it's like we don't have a direction of what to do, Like we're just like, we don't know where to go. And so we're just going to like watch the news and like just be all sad about like all these shootings. But like at the same time, like what if somebody could like give the police officers, lunch and be like, hey, how can we help you like find this person? Or what if like families could gather together and be like, oh, let's like figure out who did this, but like this isn't how we're thinking, and it's okay. Like, but this is what I dream about in my mind. And I'm like, okay, like when the world is this beautiful thing and like when everyone loves each other because we understand it, because we went through all the trauma and the contrast to get us to where we are, Right.
It reminds me, you know the comedian Sarah Silverman?
Yeah.
Like a year ago or so, she was attacked like by this sexist troll on Twitter, and instead of responding the way you would expect someone to, who's that like vulgar and witty, she was like, dude, what's wrong? And it turns out like he had all these back pains and he had no insurance money, and like in her power was to be kind to him. Like that was, instead of like, she could have dismissed him, blocked him, like, yeah, I win, and everyone would have cheered. Like, yeah, you go, you destroyed that sexist troll. She ended up like converting him. Like she got her Twitter followers, help him out. Who knows a doctor? Let's get him some help. Right?
Oh, that's amazing.
Like there's so much more power in our vulnerability. Because you reach out to someone who has demonstrated the potential to hurt, to do violence, and you reach out. Like that vulnerability contains so much more strength.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, to just like have some compassion when the person like doesn't even see it, like that is like power, just to be able to be like, I see you for who you are, I don't see you for the words that are coming out of your mouth. Like I see you for who you really are, and I want to help you. Like I want you to understand that it's okay and like it's all good, and
right.
That was like cool for me to see, because I totally like I've had so much like, but that's why like the spiritual part of me is like the main course right now. Like I got movement, I got like menu, right? But like the mindset is like a key thing for me right now, and not just like your thoughts, like just understanding the law of attraction, the universal law, and what happens and all these things, and like just and now making it and creating it so people can see it, you know? Because that's really what, like, once the manifestation is done, it's like, okay, what's next? You know, like, it's almost like you don't want it to, you want to, like, see, go on your merry way, and then it's like, oh, a mermaid bag, you know, poof, and then it's like, it's just like that, you know, like, however it turns out. So, yeah. Cool. Well, I know we went way over, but it was important.
Yeah, it was.
For you to clear all of your trauma so that you can go into Howie and, like, imagine what it's going to be like for the day, right? That's all you got to think about is, like, right now and what you want to do. Maybe play your violin, right, or something fun.
Yeah. I'm concerned that the check that comes is going to be so big I won't be able to use my phone to deposit it. I'll have to go to the bank.
Exactly. See that, because money is just a vibration. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's just because it's on its way. Like, I've just been imagining invisible money, and then that was just a little 62. Okay, like, oh, let's see what else I can. So I'm really excited to see, like, what else I can create within the next week. So I can't wait to see what you create too. So this will be a manifesting week. Let's see what you create with your happy, fun thoughts and love and life.
All right, and I have no attachment to outcome.
Exactly.
Right?
Just have fun. Yes.
Elizabeth is a cello. We should jam over Skype.
Yes.
Ooh, I moved my two of my guitars into the office just to be more, like, fun and creative.
Yeah. See, you're switching it up.
Yeah.
No attachment to why they're there, right? It's just, hey, maybe I get done a podcast. Maybe the podcast is the violin, right? Or the guitar. You never know.
Yeah. So everybody out there, if you want to manifest me playing the violin or guitar in a podcast, just put it out.
Think it.
Put it out there. I'm shameless.
You'll get the memo.
Yeah. All right,
Awesome.
Mergoddess,
Cool.
Sarah, thank you again for everything. I'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.